Happy Women's History Month. It is a month now. There's all kinds of celebrations and awareness events going on all over. And because women in itself is such a diverse topic, I thought today we'd focus on some of the history of fitness and why you might be joining me today. Today, as I did last year, and it worked out real well, I like to keep things simple, as you know, with my exercises, simple and consistent. And the best way to be consistent with your plate is keep it to something that will interest you. Keep it to something that you will enjoy doing. We are going to talk about women's health today. I just want to check in on the other channel and see if I am coming through. If you're joining me today, please let me know if you can see and hear me. And I'll get rambling here and shaking you up very shortly. There I am with a really funny look on my face. It's so funny when you see yourself on the other end on Life Pro's channel. Just gotta say, it still kind of baffles me how this all, I hit start and here I am. So thank you for joining me today. As I said, it is Women's History Month. Today we're going to focus on some of the history of health and women and why we're active and things we should be doing at different stages in our life. For those of you that do have a vibration plate, we're going to go through my top 5 favorite moves on a vibration plate for women to perform. And then I also mentioned in the preview that I would be talking about some of my favorite tools for women. I'm going to keep that to 3. Obviously, since we're doing a vibration plate workout, one of those tools, hint, hint, is a vibration plate, not only for its versatility, but it's for its ability to give you weight-bearing exercise gains, things like strength, stronger bones, weight loss. I'll say it. Weight loss is going to be better accomplished with certain types of exercises on the plate. One of those we'll be covering today, but it's never just one thing. So as women, depending on where you are at in your life, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we're all dealing with different mechanics in this machine that we call our body. The hormones are changing, the food we put into it, the environment we live our life in. So there's all kinds of things from detoxification to the exercise stuff I already mentioned, and just energy. As I've gotten older, there's lots of different reasons to use your vibration plates. Today are going to be, as I said, more specific exercises. I did post those in the comments. For those of you that are joining me, thank you for letting me know, Facebook user, and I think that's Renee. Am I going to say that right? For letting me know that you can see and hear me. And for those of you that may have questions, maybe you're at a particular stage of health, maybe you are dealing with an injury or a surgery, maybe traditional exercise is kicking you in the butt and you're just getting started with a plate. Maybe you used a plate and it wasn't such a good experience. I want to keep questions till the end and answer all of them. I'm going to get through a little bit of history while I'm shaken. I'm going to step away from the screen because it looks like everything's going okay now. And we're going to talk about some of the 5 exercises that I recommend you be doing on your plate. For those of you that join me regularly, you'll notice there's no chair today. Today I'm hoping for who's working with me, you are in a position of being able to bear your own weight. And everything that we're doing today, it gets so complicated. What exercise gives you these benefits and what are the benefits you want to accomplish and then what setting and how long do I do it for? There's never going to be a black and white answer out of this chick's mouth. I'm going to give you some specific exercises today. What your range of motion is, what your ability is, whether you're pushing yourself or not. That's really the things you need to be asking yourself. So, if your goals are fitness and you're trying to tone up or drop a few pounds, you work on the bones, you are going to have to be consistent, but you're going to have to put forth a little bit of effort. Less effort on a vibration machine is possible in a couple ways. In a couple ways being that you can reduce the amount of time that you spend doing your exercises. All these awesome little micro movements that the plate offers you works those muscles in a more effective and quicker fashion than if you were doing the same exercises on the floor. The first exercise that we're going to go over, and ad nausea do I go over this position, but it's so terribly effective for many different reasons. We're talking about the top 5 move for women today, but this is probably the top move to know how to do on a vibration plate for everyone and everybody. And if you're not doing squats regularly now at the gym, or have never really exercised for purpose, this is why it becomes challenging. I didn't know how to do a squat properly in my my teens and my 20s. I didn't need to know how. I didn't have a bad knee and a bad neck and a bad attitude. So for those of you just starting out, if you are dealing with any deficiencies before we even get the machine going, you are always in control. All of my coaching is in oscillating, which is my preferred movement. It's not the only movement, but it's the one movement that all of Life Pro's plates have. It's the one movement that is the most functional, and it happens, in my opinion as a trainer, to be the most tolerated. For the thousands of bodies I've introduced to vibration plates in my years, people have a tendency to have deficiency. That's why we lean towards these machines. They make life easier, especially when you're dealing with problems. So how it travels up the body, how it feels when you're on a vibration plate in any movement feels different to everybody. It's absolutely a preference. It doesn't matter what I say is best, because you're going to do what feels good to you anyways. What I can tell you from experience is oscillating movement is more preferred by more users. Why? Because it kind of mimics how we walk with less impact, with less, taxation on the joints, less time. So when you're first standing on the plate, because we're going to progress to our first exercise, which is a squat. If you haven't had any activity yet today, it is later in the day for most of you, just stand here for a minute or two or a minute maybe, knees slightly bent. You could do some pelvic tilts. We're not going to be covering too much warm up today. But if you've been spending too much time doing other things that contribute to a painful anything, just loosen up for a bit. Get the blood and the lymph going. One of those things that just happens miraculously when you're on a vibration plate. So does better balance. So, if you are unstable and you really want to do a squat with me, but you're just not there yet, or Debbie didn't have a chair or a handle today, so I'm standing on this a little bit fearful, just standing here for 15, 20, 30 seconds is going to improve your balance and your stability. It's the number one reason a lot of my therapists incorporate this before, during, and after other exercises. It's just a given, plus the circulation and the lymph. So for your squat, I want a nice straight torso. I want that core engaged in our starting position. Hands around our hips. Why is a squat such a good exercise, Debbie? Well, it's going to boost our strength. It's going to boost our calories by going from simply this position to this position. And hold still. You don't have to move up and down, especially if you're just starting out. I want you to kind of feel where you feel it. You want to have about 60, 70, 80% of your mass on the heel. Watch how to do a good squat video on YouTube or search more in this channel. But you want to feel like you're stable. You're not falling forward. The body's very lazy. It has this tendency to try and make things easier and shift the weight to the toes. The heel is the point of contact that transfers it up through the rest of your body. So it's trying to get the weight off the heel to make it easier. So if you feel too much in the shins, the top of the foot, the knees, if you can't see your toes when you're looking down, you need to come back and keep those knees in line with those toes and go lower like you're sitting in a chair. And only go as low as your range of motion, level of comfort, bad knee, bad hip, whatever you're dealing with, work within your range and hold still till you can't hold still no more. We're burning calories because we're firing up those big muscle groups. We are going to boost our energy. We're going to feel more revitalized. We're going to have more oxygen in our blood. And again, we're building strength while we're doing this. Very slowly, when you're done, just stand up. Keep the knees slightly bent. For those of you just starting out, if you're feeling it too much in the head, locking the legs or standing very tall, especially if you couple with wide feet, you become like this pendulum on the platform. Bring your feet more functional, hip width apart, bend the knees slightly. You don't walk across the floor with your feet wider than your hips, okay? And, as you progress and become better at your squats, if you want to go wider, what you will find with a squat over many other standing positions is you can tolerate a wider stance. The taller you stand, the more it travels up. The deeper you bend, the more you'll feel that stimulation, those micro movements hitting the lower parts of the body, which are the ones that have to hold us upright and stable in this position. Again, engaged core, make sure that you're breathing, weight is on the heels. What your squat looks like, what your variation looks like is based more on you. So it's a good foundational exercise to get comfortable with on the platform if you're not doing it now. If you're doing squats now, and I do weights with mine, or well, then do them on the plate. The plate is just an environment that ramps up the benefits, dramatically reduces the time and effort on your part. And if you are dealing with bad joints, hypermobility, arthritis, any of those things as we get into the later decades of life, like myself, anything you can do to push those muscles to a level of fatigue faster and reduce the time and impact on your joints, the better day you're going to have. So that's the best way I can describe that your plate accelerates your exercises. The squat being the number one choice for women today on my list of 5, that happens to also be for most people using a vibration plate, the number one exercise when you start, if you're just going to get the most bang for your buck. The next exercise is a bridge. We're going to keep, because we're women, it baffles me, life says we're all unique, we're all different, we're all special. But when it comes to a workout or a diet, we're all looking for the same thing. What's the best workout for a 40 plus woman? What's the best workout for toning if I'm 60 plus? We break ourselves off into all these unique branches of a tree, and then we figure we all got to come back in the middle because, we must all have the same body type and the same dietitian making our food. So you've got to remember the body you're dealing with. It is never an age or a number. There are factors, how quickly our bones rejuvenate. But if you're doing the exercises consistently, it's about doing exercises that are comfortable for you and where you're at in your goals. So if you're not doing bridges now and getting down on the ground and getting back up is not something that you can do, the rest of this workout is not for you, but there are several others. These are not something you have to do, but there's something I'd like you to aspire to begin doing. How's that? So I'm moving this to the side. The first spot, when I was doing my squat, I didn't mention speed. I always do slow on camera so you can see what I'm doing. But I always recommend a mid to a high speed, especially if you're just starting out. You are always in control. Closer or wider feet changes the intensity. That's your amplitude. The speed is how fast you're going. And the really slow speeds are very choppy, very destabilizing. They're not fun for bad joints and arthritis and wide feet. These aren't good combinations. But for balance and stability exercises, which is where we're going with this bridge, a bridge is you laying down on the ground with your bum, depending on, the height of your body. If I were to give you a starting point, I would lay your legs on the machine, and where your knees are at, that's where you want to be as far as distance away from the machine. Now I want you to put your feet hip width apart on the plate. We're going to lay down. I want your hands just on the ground beside you, and all you're going to do is lift. Now, if you find, maybe you got sciatic issues or this is too challenging for you, bring yourself a little bit closer. I think I need to come closer so you can see me. Okay. Again, hands down on the ground. Feet are hip width apart. Same position on the plate. And we're going to lift. And we're just going to hold. What I love about this exercise, instead of just doing, your standing exercises, it's a great way to hit the glutes. You can add mass to your frame to make it a little bit more challenging. And it's really kind if you have low back issues. If you do have low back issues, you're not going to wrench it doing this exercise. You can simply come back down to the ground when you're fatigued. So hands beside you, we're going to lift, hold, clench those butt cheeks. I'd love to see 4 to 5 reps on this one if you're starting out. If you are dealing with knee issues, if you're finding this is a little bit too much action, bring your feet a little bit closer, reduce the amount of movement. Lift again, and you'll find the intensity changes. You're always in control. This one, I would say, if you're on the mini like me, anywhere in that, under 20 range or the slow, choppy speeds. For those of you that got game and you're doing bridges now, let's try a one-legged version. Bring your feet and your knees close together and think like your knees are like glued or taped together. and you're going to you're going to lift with both feet, and you're going to extend one leg so that all of the mass is on the one glute. My left leg is lifted right now, so my right side is bearing the weight. Come back down. And then, of course, you got to do both sides. Keep those knees pinned together. Lift. You'll feel the mass change. And the reason I had you bring your feet closer together, you don't need the extra wobble. I want you developing that muscle first if you're not doing those exercises now, and widen your foot position as you feel comfortable. Wider is more impact, more movement, not necessarily more benefit. So that's going to help the glutes. That's going to start helping the low back. It's going to continue to burn calories after we just did our squat. So my next favorite exercise as a woman to do is planks. Planks, why do you ask? Well, because you get a lot done in one exercise. I'll make sure you can see me okay. Yes. You get a lot done in one exercise. And as women, and myself speaking personally, I never did enough upper body, to be honest with you, until I had to. Yeah, when you're young, you want to look good in a tank top and these types of things. But I never really did upper body exercises specifically till I, screwed up my shoulder and, started working at a desk for too many hours a day. So a plank can be equally therapeutic as it can be, strength and burning calories. So primarily your planks are going to do a better job at core. I prefer them as a core exercise over things like crunches or sit-ups where there's that risk of wrenching your low back. Most of us aren't doing these exercises now regularly. So the technique, when you put it in an environment that makes them more challenging, usually goes out the window. So I suggest if you do want to start core exercises and you're able to get down on the ground, planks are going to be the best bang for your buck. But I'm going to flip you because I'm all about getting more in less time. For those of you that have watched my sessions, planks, if you do them in the right way, kind of become a push-up. So we can target and get our plank exercises done while picking up the upper body exercise by doing the plank in two different ways. So the first way we're going to do it, and I did this in a session a couple weeks ago, I want you similar to the bridge, but not quite the bridge. We're going to put our heels on the mat. This is one of the few exercises that is nice to have a little cushion for your feet if you're not wearing running shoes. So you want your heel on the plate wide. I want you on your forearms on the ground. And similar to the bridge, if you're able to do the bridge, and that was no problem, Debbie, any of my exercises you should be fatiguing within a minute. If you're not fatigued, if fitness and body change and composition and burning calories is the goal, I want you dying within a minute. So make the position challenging for you and your body type. If you're unable to lift yourself up off the ground right now for more than 2-3 seconds, I want you to bring your body forward, rest your legs on your calves on the machine, heels and the feet are just like you're lining up for a calf massage. And what we're doing is we're slowly reducing a little bit of body weight. So we're going to go like this, and we're going to bring this up. Now, if you say to me, oh, Debbie, I got a frozen shoulder, my arm hurts, I have to do crunches or sit-ups because of my shoulders. No, lay down on the ground and just rest yourself on your shoulders. It's just as effective, but I'm trying to trick you by making you do it this way to get a little bit of upper body exercise. Even though your upper body isn't on the machine, it still has to hold you up. You're still bearing your mass. So you're still getting good exercise on the upper body, but because the legs, the bum, and the core to a degree on a female body are strong, we can do squats and lunges all day. It's when we get into the upper body. So before we get into some upper body specific stuff, I need your arms for the planks. I can't wear your arms out because I need them for the planks, if that makes sense. So if you're able, lift like this. If that feels okay, any variation between here and there. The more you bring your feet towards the end of this platform, the more mass your arms and your core muscles are having to resist against the gravitational forces pushing down upon your body. So that's option one. The reason I like starting you that way is most of you that are not doing planks now, I don't want to screw up the back again. There's so many bad backs walking around out there. So that's one way to start. If your back is no issue, and you're doing planks now, of course, you can do your plank this way. Same modifications. If you want to reduce the amount of body weight, rest the shins on the machine, okay? If you're fine, feet really wide. You don't really need the mat for this one, okay? Let me get some wobble effect going. So again, on this one, I want you in that under 20 range in your manual mode. Lower program on your minis and your wavers. We're doing this in oscillating. You can do these exercises in any movement you want, any program you want. Mix it up. I'm teaching you the bare bones that everybody's machines are capable of doing. So forearms again, wide feet, lift and hold. For those of you that are doing planks now, there's a million variations you can try. I personally prefer coming up to the hands, more like a reverse push-up. Then you've got all this room that you can do fancy moves with if you really want to. Whatever you want to do. I'm kidding myself if I think I can show off doing that today. So you'll see why I wanted your arms now. So whatever style of plank that it is you're doing right now, my number 3 position is planks. Planks are going to engage more muscles. They're going to be better for the back. They're going to burn more calories. So if weight loss, toning, as women, that's the goals. You want to, again, with your planks, your bridges, and your squats, the 3 we've done so far, I want you fatiguing within 1 minute. Your squats, I want them at a mid to higher speed. Your legs can take a little bit more action. Hold still if you're just starting out. Bridges and your planks to date so far, we're going to slow those down. I want those in your wobbly, those choppy speeds I talked about, the slow speeds. A vibration machine doesn't work the same as a treadmill. Now for upper body, I want to give you a little bit more of a visual. Upper body, if you're not doing upper body exercises right now, we're progressing to push-ups, but we're going to start with a modified version where just like when we did the plank, we're going to reduce the body weight going into the equation. So you're just going to start on your knees. If you're not doing upper body right now, I want you getting used to how it shakes, rattles, and rolls you and how you personally can control and modify that based on your own tolerance, deficiencies, and please, above all, make sure that you're breathing. We have a tendency to stop breathing when we do core exercises or there's something about this machine. So I want your hands to start no more than shoulder width apart. And a real simple trick when you're doing upper body, and it's not a mistake, it's just a common thing that everyone does, is you sit here and you're looking at your hands, and if you've locked your arms, there's no, it's like locking your legs when you're standing. Make sure those elbows are slightly undone, and all of a sudden you'll feel the muscles moving versus the bones and the shoulders shaking. The other thing that you can do, it's not harmful, the shaking of the head and the neck, there's sometimes concern. No, there's much less impact than going for, a fast-paced walk or a jog, I assure you. What we tend to do, though, as women especially, pay attention, we guard and protect. This is the bra, the purse, the child. This is where we carry our stress and our tension. So when we put new stimulation to these areas, we guard and protect. So we fight it and we resist it. And we think why we hate it and why we shouldn't be doing upper body exercises. What you do when you tense up and fight it is you become rigid and it makes the shaking worse. So just relax. If it's too much action, bring your hands a little closer. And final tip, instead of the head looking directly down at the hands, push your body just slightly forward so that the hand is in line with the shoulder. And you're going to feel 95% of the head shake leave the building. If you shift slightly back, you'll feel it all returns to the neck and the head. If you push yourself forward, unbending at the torso, you'll feel you can even lean forward a bit. Get it into the shoulder blades, do some rolls. Just subtle little changes of your angles are going to direct to where you do or where you don't want it. So this is where the push-up and the plank can be like therapeutic and fitness. So if you're just starting these exercises, keep it here for the first week or so. Get used to where it feels good. What speed? I recommend a mid-range on your upper body. Again, smoother versus slow and choppy. But the biggest lesson is just like when you're standing, bring those hands slightly closer together, reduce the amount of intensity. For those of you that got game and, I'm doing push-ups now, well, then do them. You should have enough upper body strength and core strength to start with a good position. I would recommend, if the head vibration is too intense, same, but just tilt yourself forward with the toes or back. You could do dynamic movements. You could do some lower body movements. There's a million variations. What I would suggest, if you're dealing with upper body deficiencies, you're just getting over something, even though you may have the ability to do these exercises, start therapeutically, or at least do a little bit of a warm-up, and then maybe a combination of committing to the mean stuff. Last little trick with upper body, because it's like the weakest, most deconditioned muscle on the female body, is the bat wings. How do I get the triceps? I'm not a big fan of tricep dips. It's rare that you'll see me do it in a session, and it's usually just because I'm being a smartass. But I prefer manipulating the angles. So many of my clients are dealing with deficiencies that a tricep dip is just never in the crystal ball. So in your basic push-up, learn how to do this before you commit to more weight. All you're doing, and I'm going to turn a little bit. So in your basic push-up, you're kind of coming out at a 45-degree angle with those elbows. Take the elbow and tuck it up against the rib cage. So you're changing the angle of your arms. Okay, and you may need to bring your hands closer. So instead of being like this, we're going like this. Make sense? Instead of like this, we're tucking them up against the ribs. And all of a sudden, you'll feel the weakest muscle up in that upper body engage. You'll feel it hit it very effectively. Make sure you just hold a good position. You don't need to do a lot of movement on this. And then as you feel comfortable and are ready, yes, you can progress to more mass. You can do dynamic movement, whatever feels comfortable. But what I typically do with my push-up, because I like to combine things and be done quick to get on to the next stuff, the nice stuff. So when I'm kind of dying in my push-up and I'm done, I'll pull them in here, the elbows into the ribs, and just hit those triceps for another 30 to 45 seconds. That's my way of doing it. Just some variations. It's also, again, very good therapeutically for those of you that sit at the desk too long and you have upper body, the carpal tunnel, the tennis elbow, the mouse wrist syndrome, whatever you want to call that. You're getting stimulation and therapeutic effects to the hands because they're in contact with the plate while you're getting the work done on the upper body. So I hope you enjoyed that one. The very last exercise, which if you are a woman and you're using a vibration plate now and you do not know this exercise, I do not know where you've been. What we're going to do here is called the seated massage. Like the squat, if range of motion allows, this is a very effective, lots of use position. There's a lot of different applications that you can use this for. I wouldn't say this is the only thing that you should be doing if you're looking to improve tone, cellulite, things like that. But for many of my clients with IBS, indigestion, constipation, urinary incontinence, there's other reasons that people sit on the plate. So like anything, the reason that you personally seek and decide to start using a vibration plate is generally different than the guy next to you. And over time, as you start using this equipment, you begin to learn it's doing other things. There's other benefits that you never even expected. So on this one, particularly for one reason, because even though I'm going to tell you 1 to 2 minutes is all you need, most women go a little longer. Sometimes you want to speed it up. Sometimes you want to slow it down. Sometimes you need padding. I personally have enough yoga mats built in between my glutes and the undersides of my thighs. So I don't use a mat, depending on the surface of your machine. Most of mine are fine sitting on it. It's different when you've got like your hip or your knees on it. So pad up if you need to and crank your machine up to a mid to high speed range. You're sitting in a very, very passive position. I'm going to address the big elephant in the room, a common question. What about the spine? What about the spine? It's sitting right in the middle of the platform, moving a millimeter, maybe less. You're subjected to 10 G's of force when you sit your butt down in your chair at the end of the day. This is not exposing you to a ton of force. It is a very therapeutic effect. So just like the push-up, if you're feeling too much vibration in the head and you're guarding and protecting, it's not going to be a very fluid, very comfortable experience. If the head vibe and you're all worried about your spine and you're concerned, lean forward slightly and you're going to take 90% of the movement out of your head. I personally like the movement in the head. I like getting it in my neck and my shoulders. Just like standing, you'll notice my legs are wide like a V. If you bring your legs closer, you reduce the amount of movement, the amount of shake that you're being exposed to. This is going to be a good way to end your day. For many of my families dealing with spasticity, special needs, where you get that tightness in the hamstrings and you spend hours massaging your poor child just to get their legs straight at the end of the night. Total tangent, but again, just such a versatile move. 1 to 2 minutes is really all you need. If you are tight in the hamstrings and the calves, you could turn it into a stretch, pull those toes towards you, pushing with the chest, not bouncing like we thought was cool in the 70s. Just reach. You can just sit there, but there's other things that you can do. Many of my yogis, my plot, you can meditate, you can do all kinds of stretches while you're seated on this plate. For those of you that want to get a little bit more upper body lymphatic movement, relaxation, you're down here anyways, take your hands, palms down, and tuck them just under the top of your thigh where it connects to your butt cheek. And your elbows are slightly bent. If you want a little bit more intensity, just resist a little bit and lean back, and you'll get it into the neck and the shoulders. It's one of my favorite all-in-one. I do the Stevie Wonder. That's not very nice, but there's a movement that I like to just it's a stimulation. And you're only limited, I always say, by your imagination and your range of motion. So once you kind of get past the new feeling, the itchiness, the pins and the needles, the fear, whatever it is that may be holding you back from using your plate and experimenting, I often find it's not knowing. You think you need all these moves and you need this big plan to be successful with it, and that's just not the case. So today we covered squats, bridges, planks, push-ups, seated massage. Each position within themselves could be just something you do because you feel like you need a fix. Maybe you're managing some symptoms. In the 20s, vibration machines, it's kind of done this whole century, 1900s to 1920s, it was all about minimal effort machines. And that's where those shaky belts, those machines that women just stood on and it shook. There's a lot of misassociation with these machines. Those actually went by the wayside, I believe, because they were causing back issues. You were supposed to leave them on your hips. People would lean into them and they'd rest up, into the small of the back, and you'd be shaking the neck. And vibe belts were coming out, stationary bikes were coming out, rowing machines were coming out. In the 30s and 40s for women, it was more about being glamorous and repetition exercises, using your favorite celebrities workout, things like that. And believe it or not, exercise cards in the 30s and 40s used to be in your cigarette packs. It was long before they said that cigarettes were bad and cancerous and so forth. But so you would exercise while you're having your smoke. I thought that was hilarious. I've read that in a few articles. 50s and 60s was, we started as women getting moving. It was socially okay to start doing, calisthenics and words like aerobics, and sweating actually became acceptable and encouraged in some cases. And I think this was when the first home type of machines and workouts started coming available too. In the 70s and 80s, it started changing. 50 years ago, it's hard to believe already, but it was time to get physical. Aerobics grew more popularity. The Jane Fondas, the Richard Simmons, 70s jogging became popular. Before the 70s, nobody went jogging, not regularly, not en masse like they do now, unless you were perhaps conditioning for something specific. And the 90s, 2000s, butts and thighs, workout videos, classes, Tae-Bo, Buns of Steel, remember that? Thigh Master, probably the most profitable piece of exercise equipment ever made. Yoga, and in the 90s and 2000s, the food started getting more attention with our frozen meals, our lean cuisines, those type of things started coming out. 2000 and today, we're kind of in the class pass era, is what some articles reading today said. It's you sweat in groups of people versus on your own at home, or dancing or exercising to music, all the classes that are available, the spin classes, the aerobic classes, the yoga classes, the jazzercise, all those different ones. So there's all these different ways to exercise. So where I was going with the history, again, we believe now that we are all unique. We are told that we're special. We need to address our own self-care and our own needs, but yet we still seek the workout for women or the one diet for women. And it's just not out there. The sooner you become in tune with who you are, what you enjoy doing, and what you're actually prepared to do, the sooner you're going to start seeing benefits. And the machine, again, is just a tool. It's a catalyst that makes the moves easier. I will post the moves again in a little picture after the live has wrapped up. For those of you that are joining me to know what my top tools are, I did mention I was going to touch on a couple of other things. And ironically, very similar to last week. Last week was World Obesity Day, and I talked about the best tools that Life Pro brings to the tables to combat and manage your symptoms of obesity, weight loss being a big one that people are struggling with. And it was, again, hard today. I'm at a later stage in my life, and I'm finding myself more and more leaning into, those body weight exercises, weight bearing exercises. I'm really mindful of the bones and keeping the muscles, shapely and the skin tone. So weights are a big way that I incorporate more into my exercises. All I'm doing is my squats and certain exercises by incorporating weights on the plate. Make sure you keep in mind your machine's weight capacity and do the math if you're doing those exercises. And I couldn't just do light therapy, even though that would be my choice number 2. So obviously, number 1, a vibration plate at any stage in your life as a woman is a must-have, whether it's therapeutic, chronic use, or you're looking to get fit. We live in a busy world, and there's a lot of things coming at us, and sometimes life just gets in the way. So it fits the time bill or complements some of the other things that you enjoy doing as well. The weights would be my next. I hate to, for those of you that aren't lifting weights, it doesn't mean you got to go buy a set, but add some mass to your frame when you are doing your exercises. Keep those bones strong. Burn more calories. And if you're not fatiguing within a minute on your exercises, as I suggested as a tip, a weight, hanging on to one, or adding a 10-pound bag of rice in a backpack on your back, getting more mass to your frame while you're doing your standing exercises in particular is going to be a great way to burn more calories, make you stronger, and push you to fatigue faster. So if I had to pick one light tool for everybody, I'm always about budget. I'm always about, universal use. I'd have to say the BioRemedy, the sauna blankets. There's a couple of different versions. Some are more robust than others, but as I've gotten older and the hot flashes and all of these hormonal things are going through, I really enjoy the sauna. It kind of commits me to just shutting off and shutting down. I can still watch my TV, or I can listen to some tunes or talk with my kids, but it really just forces me to stop, sweat out. Detoxification is something I'm also very mindful of right now. So this is a great way to ramp that up, to keep the weight off, keep the skin tone looking good. And for those of you that are looking to boost calories, it is becoming summer in some areas of the world. So this is the time that we work on these bodies for those summertime outfits. A sauna is a great way, especially with all the snow we've been having here, not only to address some of the menopausal things that I've been dealing with, but it's a great complement to the machine, the weights, and my style of workout, which is HIIT. I like that high intensity, short in duration, because I got a bad knee that I was supposed to get fixed and just haven't gotten around to it. So I hope that helps you guys a little bit. I want to get to some questions here before it gets too late, but I'm being blinded by the light here, so give me a moment to dim them a little bit. Hoo-ah! Perfect. So who is here? Who did I put to sleep, and who is still here with me? If you are with me, let me know where you are from. Thank you for joining me. It's if there's anything else maybe that you've done for Women's History Month, if there's anything that you partake in, or you've gone out, there's all kinds of events. Like I say, if there's anything exciting in your area, share it. And let me know what your questions are at this point. Facebook user says, I think it's Renee again. Have you been accepted into the, it says, have you been accepted into the group yet, or are you still pending? I'm not sure who's asking that question. Renee, if you're trying to get into the VIP group and you're watching me on the main page, yeah, make sure you request access to that. When I go live, I don't know if you guys are coming to me through the VIP group or if you're coming to me through Life Pro's main page. So I will, if I've missed your question, Facebook user or Renee, let me know. Facebook user says, I love this. Thank you, Debbie. I'm learning a lot from you. Keep it simple. Hello, Anne. How are you? Anne says, thanks for the advice. Facebook user is from Rhode Island, I'm going to assume, RI. Facebook user says this was great. Hello, Jill from Wisconsin. Jill, you're probably like me, and it's still sauna season up here in Canada where I'm at. Donna is from South Carolina. Hello. Anne from Lakewood, Colorado. Facebook user says thank you. And Facebook user says she was just accepted. Okay, yes, sometimes if admin is busy, I don't play myself, Roseanne and Amber don't play a primary role in admin, although you will see us in there helping out with questions when we have time to do so. But I would say, your amazing Life Pro team behind the scenes sometimes, and I find Mondays, in my groups, Sunday Mondays are just crazy for new members. So do give them time if you haven't been accepted immediately, especially if you've done a request on the weekend. I would like to learn more about the 3 different pulses. Are you referring to red light? Facebook user, today is more primarily about the exercises I'm talking about. I don't have them in front of me. Which product would you be referring to on the 3 different pulses? And I'll see if I can't help you out with that. Oh, I'm just going to choke up my coffee now. Excuse me. Sorry about that. On the Rumblex. Oh, the 3 different movements, you mean, the 3 different movements. Rumblex has 3 movements. The primary movement, the first, is oscillating, which is what I did today. The Rumblex and the Turbo and the Hovert models have additional movements. So they all have oscillating, which is that side to side. It also has lateral, which is side to side completely. I don't use it very often. Some of my clients dealing with very sluggish, very severe lymph conditions that have head sensitivities, very heavy, rigid bodies like that as just a mix it up for lymph movement. It also offers pulsation. Pulsation is a very mild, very low energy vertical movement. It's moving up and down. The frequencies are much higher, but the amplitudes are very, very low. If you're dealing with very severe neuropathy pain, diabetes pain, you're just not able to tolerate lots of movement right now, pulsation is a good move for that. Sometimes I see reference to people thinking that pulsation is the best for bone density. Absolutely false. There's a few studies out there that people are always throwing at me. Oh, this frequency is best for that, and that frequency is best for that. There's always 2 factors to a vibration plate. So the style of movement, different movements have completely different performance characteristics. So oscillating, which is my preferred because that's more functional, that's how we move, has lower frequency ranges and speeds, but it has much higher amplitude. So how much you're moving, and it's completely controllable by you on the fly. So if you want less, you bring your feet closer. If you want more, you widen your feet up. In lateral, it's fixed. So how far you're moving is fixed. And in pulsation, it's preset at, I think it's like 0.1. So vertical plates have higher frequency ranges, higher speeds, but the distance they're moving, the amplitude is much less. And what happens, why is that number important? That's how far your muscles are moving to react each time the plate is moving you. And I prefer oscillating on an amplitude standpoint because it is adjustable. Most amplitude machines, most of the vertical machines out there, even if you're looking at the true, tens of thousands of dollars medical grade, there's very limited amplitude ranges, usually a high and a low setting, and you like it or you don't. There's no manipulation by you on the user. I cannot get on the floor. Can I sit the plate on a bench so I can sit on it, or a table so I can do the arm exercises? I'd really prefer you not. I'm in the process of doing some homework for Joel on some common questions, and it really boils down to, I don't know what coffee table you're playing with. I don't know what chair you're playing with. This is a piece of equipment designed for you to stand upon. So if you're going to place it up on furniture, there's other ways And I would prefer you do perhaps seated use. Are you using a stool now? I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. I'm sitting on a stool. What I would prefer you do to start is seated use, right? Walk before we run. So to get into upper body, so no, this is not sitting on the platform. If your range of motion does not allow you to get back up off the ground, 99% of the time, my answer is going to be no. I don't want you putting it on a coffee table. I don't want you putting it up on a stool. But I'm going to say there's a big but. It really depends on the surface you're putting it on, what it can hold, and what you are when you're on it. If that's really the primary reason you're looking at using a vibration plate is so you can put it up and use it as a massager, you should look at something more specific use for that. Just my honest opinion. I would prefer you start seated, gain benefit, and get to the point where you can sit down on it comfortably. I don't like putting a seat on the plate either. It's different when you're sitting on it versus on a stool. You're at the high end of the swing, and it's more violently shaking you than moving the hips subtly when you're sitting directly on it. And if you're not able to do that yet, there's other ways. For the arms, while you're seated, you can lock your arms and lean them on your knees. You want to make sure whatever you're sitting on is going to afford you a good 90-degree angle. I don't want you lower downhill. Okay, if this feels good and range of motion allows, come further and put the elbows on the knees. Oh, I love this one. I try to limit it to 5. And this isn't really a move. This is Debbie making stuff up that she does with the vibration machine that feels good. So this is just you're leaning over, you've got your knees on your elbows, like you're watching a television program, and you'll feel it through the neck and the shoulder blades. If you sort of arch back like a cat, you'll feel it more in the front of the shoulders and the neck. If you flex, it's kind of like a seated cat-cow. Flex the other way, looking up, and you're going to feel it in different areas. Just an idea for you. Until you're able to get down on the ground. If you want to sit on it, I'd really prefer you start working a combination of seated and some light standing. If you want to target this area and you're able to stand on your plate, a pelvic tilt is a really fantastic way to start targeting that area and get you down on the floor sooner. But if constipation and incontinence is the issue and you just want to hit those areas, take your stool or your kitchen island or your bed. I want you stable. I don't want you falling over. And your knees are just slightly undone. I'm going to turn so you can see this a little bit better. And then just sort of rock your body back and forth. Play with your foot distance. Tilt your hips side to side. The more you wiggle around and the more you play with your positioning, the more you're going to learn to get it to those areas. So it'll be very effective for that as well. Until you can get down on the ground, some of my medical users are unable, without assistance and a whole bunch of lifts, to get down on the ground. And there's other positions that you can do if you kind of understand what it is you're trying to target. So experiment with the range of motion that you have, if that makes sense. I hope that helps. Thank you. Very helpful. Oh, I got my stool the wrong way. Nowhere to put my feet. Okay. I cannot get on the floor. Can I sit on the plate in the bed? So I hope that answered that question. If you are, if you've got sometimes with Life Pros models on Amazon, there's a couple, the new trim light is smaller. I don't remember the name of it, the Hexaplate models. So I'll give you an example. If you are planning on using a machine on a table or a piece of furniture, I don't want you lifting and trying to put something that's 50, 60 pounds that weighs 50 pounds on your coffee table. It's a safety thing. So if money's no object and you want to have a couple machines, for that purpose, something smaller and lighter. Now, the downside of the smaller, lighter, more compact models is, with some of the stuff I like to do on them, they're almost too small. If you're bearing a lot of weight or you've got a lot of mass between the thighs, it's hard to bring your feet close when the plate itself is only 16 inches wide. So every machine has its purpose. There's never one machine that's perfect for every application and every person's set of goals. So when you're selecting a machine, sometimes just be mindful of, be realistic. What are you actually going to be doing with it? And what are you willing to do consistently? So I hope that makes sense. I plan on standing, and I was looking for ways to exercise the arms too. I think you'll love that seated one with the arm. I'll sit there and I'll clear my phone. I'm very bad for just stopping, as I said earlier. That's why I like the sauna bags, is it forces me to just stop for a little period of time. So, and I'm going through flashes. Am I going through flashes? I'm 51, and it's like all of a sudden, you know what I mean? I used to notice this with my nurses back in the day when they used to come to my studio from the local hospital, and my therapists, is many of them would come early in the day just because that's the way that their shift worked, and it was the end of their day, if you know what I mean. But many of them, and I'm starting to notice this myself too, I haven't been so regular the last couple nights, but it's bringing my flashes on when I'm in the sauna. So I'm in there, I'm sweating my butt off anyways. And they're less, if at all, because I can tell by how sweaty I am when I wake up in the middle of the night. So I think it's helping mitigate those too. So if you're like me and you're going through flashes and you think the last thing you need is heat, it's a different kind of heat, that sauna. And it almost, like I say, forces it on, I think, before I go to bed. And I'm certainly having better sleep. So just my little tip. If you are watching this on a recorded basis, please, if you have questions for me, tag me at Debbie with a Y, and let me know what your questions are. For those of you that are joining me today, thank you so much for joining me. If you think of something after the fact, or I rambled you to sleep and you didn't get a chance to ask, also just tag me at Debbie with a Y. And if you ever have session ideas or things that you specifically want to focus on, never hesitate to reach out to myself, Amber, or Roseanne, and we'll make those happen for you. Have a great rest of your day. There are some deals on for those of you that are looking at plates. Like, there's 20% off with Life Pro and some of my favorite models. So any of these things I recommend look while they're on sale. They won't be at that price forever. And sometimes it becomes a bit of a stock issue. If it's out of stock, it most likely, with the way the world works nowadays, isn't going to be 20% off when they're back in stock. So if you've been looking at something and you've been waiting, 20% off Life Pro Direct, and there's some good deals on Amazon with them as well. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great start to your week. Don't work too hard. And I'll see you guys next Monday. Have a great Monday.